Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode number 43 of the Wulong Talks podcast. Hi, my name is Jason, and I'm the host of the show, as you know. And welcome back. We have a very, very special guest with us here today who's going to have an interesting chat with us about martial arts and books and movies and all of that good stuff that you love. And that's why you come to us, of course. So we're going to get down to chatting all about that and introduce our guest as well. So without further ado, let me introduce the novelist and martial artist and enthusiast, Ramona S.J Lee. Ramona, hello. Welcome to Wulong Talks.
Hi, it's nice to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you. Absolute pleasure. But yeah, I mean, you're, as said, you're a novelist, and we came across some of your work. I've been reading one of your Agent 00 series, so we'll have a little chat about that. But the book has been awesome. It's full of all of the things I love, which is martial arts, fantasy, adventure, a bit of comedy as well. So, I've really, really enjoyed it. So yeah, it's a book that I can definitely recommend to people.
That's cool. I like feedback, and when people telling me they enjoyed my books or what characters they liked, that's what I'm writing for. Feedback is what makes me happy.
Sure, I can imagine. So I guess we should start with the most obvious question first, really, which is what made you decide to get into writing in the first place?
Well, I always knew I'm going to write. That was somehow a childhood dream or something, not really a dream. I was like really sure I'm going to write stories, and I grew up watching martial arts movies. Actually, my mom was watching all kind of the old school movies, the 70s, 80s, 90s, or the early 2000s, because that's when I was a kid. And I really enjoyed that kind of movies. And while watching them, I told myself, that's what I want to do in the future too. But I wasn't really sure what's going to be like, or directing, stunts, or writing. I had no idea what that really is, making a movie, or what kind of people you need on a set, but what I saw there on screen was what made me happy. And I really hoped I could do one day exactly what I saw on screen. So the first thing I could start with was, of course, writing a story. And that's what my mom told me too. Like, you can start maybe practicing martial arts, and later, if you want to do action movies and you want to be an action star and do your own martial arts or stunts or whatever, maybe not stunts, but just the martial arts, you need to start training. And we had that conversation when I was 4 years old. So it was really long way ago. Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was really sure I'm going to do this. And so I started with thinking, okay, if I can write a story, like write a book, books can be later movies. So I really was sure I'm going to write a novel. So that was later, when I was 14. I wrote the first novel that time, and I did write it in 28 hours. That April 2012. That was my first novel.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, then my journey started when I was 14 and wrote the first 3 novels that year in 2012. And I put them first online because that's how I started. People ask me, how did you write that book in 28 hours? Because that's not possible. Like, you're sitting down 28 hours and you really wrote that book from beginning to end. No, it was in that month. It was in April 2012, because this first April 2018, I have 6 years since my debut. And in that month, I just wrote like 1 hour, 2 hours a day during that vacation from school. And I posted that episode, I called episode. It was a chapter actually from the novel. And I posted them online. And putting together all the hours I really worked on that book, it came out that was around 28 hours. So that's why I'm saying I wrote a novel in 28 hours, because I didn't cut anything. That's what I'm doing today too. I'm not going back to the text. So the first draft I'm writing is actually the printed one. I'm meaning the Romanian one. So I'm not changing anything. It's all how I wrote it first. It's going to be printed like that. And that's how I did the first novel, and it was for free, just online. I wanted to see what people think, because the reaction of the people was the important thing here. And so I put it online, and people started actually clicking that ebook. And if it has had around 600 clicks, I know, from the first 2 chapters, I think that's not much. It's a few clicks, thinking of other people who are selling books. But for me, who I had no connections, even just 10 or 20 friends on Facebook that time, it was a lot for me that strangers really clicked and shared, and shared between each other that story, and they didn't even know me. So that was a great thing for me as a beginning. So that made me keep going and keep writing. So I put the first 3 novels just for free online to get that feedback.
I mean, that's actually amazed me that you started writing at the age of 14. I mean, as a 14-year-old, I was probably still wasting my time with cartoons on TV and, deciding whether or not I wanted strawberry milkshake or banana milkshake. So the fact that you've been able to really focus yourself onto writing a book at the age of 14 is amazing, really. And it's great to hear that you got so much encouragement as well from your mother to really start
Yeah,
pursuing your
that was
dream.
important. Right. Yeah, she was an important support, and she still supports everything I'm doing, even getting now the movie industry and the acting and everything. She supports. That was important. Even if no one supported me at that moment, it was good to have someone at home that pushes you and make you keep going, and don't let you give up. At that time, it was really important, because at the beginning you're facing a lot of mean people, a lot of rejection, because I faced a lot of rejection. I can say until today, sometimes people telling me, when you're speaking, you don't sound like a 20 years old. You sound like people with like a person with a lot of experience and stuff. Yeah, because I started very young, the writing thing, and I faced all that rejections and everything from a very young age. So I've been through all that. So nothing surprises me anymore. I'm prepared for more and getting like facing other problems, because I went through a lot. So not always age matters. Sometimes it's the experience and what you're able to do, not your age.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's an excellent point that you raised there as well. It's as you said, it's all about the experience, definitely, and everything is a learning experience, and it seems like you've learned an awful lot in a short space of time.
Yeah, life had to teach me. That was
Yeah.
teacher, but good and bad. But yeah, I had to go through that, and I'm thankful for that, because it made me who I am today, and I'm not scared anymore. Maybe it's hard to get through such things when you're 15 or 16 compared to when you're 25. Maybe you're facing it differently. You're almost a kid when you're 14, and maybe it's hard, when you get rejection or hard words from people that are older than you and who have positions, or even from mass media who ignore you or call you different ways, or think you're going to vanish. Because I had such problems, like 3 years no one wanted to write about me in Romania, saying that she wrote a novel, but she's going to disappear in 1 year, or in a few months you're not going to hear from her anymore. And that was for me hard, because I thought, maybe it was a little bit silly, but I thought that a lot of people are going to support me, or you're going to write about me. She was 14, she wrote her first novel, her first 3 novels at the age of 15. And I thought I'm going to get this support, but I get zero support from teachers, from all the people around me, just strangers. And that's the thing that makes me happy today, because just strangers supported me at that point. And of course, my mom. But the rest of the family, the teachers, the people around me, most of them ignored or even talked different things about me, which didn't make me happy at that point. But now I'm happy that strangers appreciated my work, because that's important. And strangers tell you that people have no idea who you are, but tell you your work is great. That means your work is great. Because when your family says that, that might be not true. But when strangers tell you that, that means it's really good what you're doing. But when you're still 15 and people talking like this at the beginning, you don't feel that well, and it's hard to go through that moments of not giving up and keep going what you're doing. That was important to have a support at home that told, don't listen to them and keep going. And I'm happy I kept going, because look where I'm today, and that's important. Young people.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's it's common that for all the people that we speak to, because we've been fortunate enough to speak to a few people who are in the creative arts in different ways, and it's common how everybody has to kind of almost fight to get to where they want to be. It's a world where there's only a select few people who are able to get by because of who they know and the connections that they have. The rest of us unfortunately aren't part of that club, so we kind of have to do it ourselves. And
Right.
but the one thing about it is it does shape character in it, and as you said, you learn a tremendous amount about yourself and and what you're capable of when you have to go through these things. So
Yeah, right.
yeah, so it's fascinating to kind of hear your story and sort of how that came about. One of the things I did want to ask you as well is that I noticed is that I know you do have an interest in kind of acting and sort of stunt work and things like that as well. Has there been a lot that you've been able to do over your career so far?
I had a movie appearance last year in a British production.
Mm,
But that wasn't the role. I supported them, like writing an article or stuff. And
mm,
yeah, they invited me, like being part of the project, a little bit on screen, being on set. That was really important for me. Not having maybe the role of my life or something, but it was like for the first time being on set, and it was interesting because in my career, I'm just me and my laptop and just writing and writing, and you're not getting to know like directly people and working with people, just maybe the publishing house. But
mm,
I was always on my own, and that's interesting because producing a movie means you have to have a team. You work with the team, with people, with connections, and that was interesting for me to be there and to really, really be sure, is it what I want to do? Is it really what I want to do, or is it just the novels and like giving the story and let the other people do the work for the movies? And yes, it's what I want to do. And you always learn. You never know everything, even until you die. You don't know everything, and life is just about learning new things and seeing new things. And this was a very nice experience for me. Being it was always the first time in London and meeting new people and sharing my work with them and seeing how they are on set and even being on camera.
mm,
It was a new experience. So yes, it's what I want to do.
mm, mm. Okay, yeah, that's awesome, man. I mean, like it's always great when you get the opportunity to kind of you know rub shoulders, I guess, with people who work in the industry that you're interested in, and especially
Yeah.
with the movie business as well. It's such a great experience to be on a set and learn kind of how like a set works and what each person on a set does
Yes,
and
right.
all of those kind of things. They're all sort of useful lessons, especially going forward with your own career as well. So yeah, that sounds like it must have been a pretty awesome experience. Did the movie shoot in the summer or in the winter?
When it was filmed,
Yeah,
yeah, in the spring,
in the
actually,
spring.
exactly
Okay.
April last year.
Oh,
It's
okay.
been like almost exactly a year, a few days.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, cool, cool. So you didn't get caught out by the British weather then, or the
It was,
horrible British weather, I
yeah,
should say.
when I was on set, it was during night and it was
Mm,
freezing cold. It was really
yeah.
cold. I got a cold when I was at home. It was terrible.
Mm,
And we have in Romania, it's much warmer. And when I got back, I got a cold and it was really cold, but it was nice anyway. But cold. Yeah, right. It was cold.
yeah. Yeah, UK is kind of harsh at that time of year. So yeah,
Yeah.
I can imagine you were feeling pretty cool.
Yeah, and wearing like clothing we had there were no winter clothes or something. So you had to always
Mm,
take the
mm,
jackets off while filming and then put the jacket back and then freezing and it was fun.
cool. So you mentioned earlier that your interest in kind of martial arts and things like that came from watching some of the older movies with your mum. Um, what are some of your favorite sort of early martial arts movies and your earliest kind of memories of martial arts movies? Did you have any like particular stars that you liked or anything like that?
Well, from the older movies, one of my favorite as a kid was Drunken Master, of course,
Ah, yeah.
because yeah,
Classic.
a classic, of course,
Yeah.
and yeah, because Jackie's like my one of my favorite.
Mm,
Of course, everyone likes Jackie, so yeah,
mm,
Bruce Lee, that's what everyone likes. And actually, but the movie that made me really want to produce one day my own movies was A Police Story, like the whole series, and a new
oh,
police
yes.
story,
Mm,
and like the stunts from the first and second Police Story movie. They're crazy, like really awesome stunts. And
mm,
like the story from the new Police Story, that was later, but I was still kind of young when that movie came out, and I like that drama, the background, dramatic background, and combined with the action. And I really wish that I could write one day some sort of this kind of story, my own
mm,
story that had that kind of style. And but a movie that I can watch again and again, and then I remember my about my childhood is Who Am I?
mm.
With and I remember that part of the movie when Jackie climbs and yells, "Who am I?"
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
That was iconic for me in my childhood. But I
Mm,
was yelling that in German because I watched that in German TV and they dub every movie, so I remember the German words.
mm,
But anyway, yeah, that movie, and yeah, that was part of my childhood. But of course, Bruce Lee movies and Jet Li, and I grew up with all these kind of movies. But the few of them, yeah, that's my favorite. The
mm,
police story. But what really made me wish to write my own police story one day.
mm,
That's
mm.
what I did with Agent Zero Zero.
Yeah, I was going to say I can definitely now, having finished sort of the first volume, see the parallels between kind of Police Story and Agent Zero Zero. I really, by the way, love Police Story, especially the first one. I think that's one of my all-time favorite kung fu movies. I just think that, like you said, in terms of the quality of the writing, the plot is so good, the script is good, the acting is good, the martial arts, of course, is brilliant, but the stunts are insane. But it's everything, he managed to capture everything
Everything.
perfectly in that one movie. And of course, he damn near killed himself at the end trying to do that stunt
That's
down
the
the where he
jumping.
slides down the electric, yeah, the electric lights. You just wonder sometimes. I'm like, Jackie, you don't have to do this. Like, we love you. Like, you're
Yeah.
awesome, but you don't have to always put your life at risk.
Great that he's older now. I'm so happy
Mm,
somehow that he's older now and that he can't do all his stunts anymore because we
mm,
all need
mm.
him alive. That's right.
Yeah,
We want
exactly.
him alive. So it's good that he
Yeah.
takes it easier and he takes maybe some stunt doubles and stuff. It's good to know he's then we have him alive. That's good.
Yeah, absolutely. Long live Jackie Chan, I say.
Yes.
So yeah, keeping it. By the way, have you seen the movie The Foreigner yet?
Yes, I watched that one.
You have? Okay, because I still haven't seen it yet. Like, it's sitting there on my Netflix account, and I had it saved from the moment it came out. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna watch it. But you know how it is with movies. Sometimes you say, yeah, I'm definitely gonna watch this, and then it gets saved somewhere, and then life
Yeah,
takes over, and you forget. And yes, I've just completely forgotten. But it's good, yeah.
it's really good. It was surprising. The
Mm,
drama was surprising, like seeing Jackie doing just drama and like no comedy at all. And
mm,
when
mm,
you're watching a movie with him, you really look at the screen and you wait and wait. When can I laugh? Where's
mm,
the joke? When does
mm,
the
mm,
joke come? And really, I watched that movie and I really didn't laugh because there he had other drama stories too, but there has to be some point where you're laughing. And now I was watching this and I was okay,
mm,
the movie is good, but you're waiting for something else from him. But it's true, like he's saying, he's getting old. He can't always be that young handsome guy like with two or three girlfriends and stuff. It's not, he can't do such roles anymore at his
mm,
age. And it's, of course, you have to change somehow and do other styles maybe too, like according to your age. But a little bit still for a fan who has watched all your movies and stuff, you're waiting for that kind of comedy or to do it somehow combined maybe with younger people around you and you're taking on a different role and still be in a comedy movie. That's what I
mm,
personally wish from him. Like he being still in the comedy movies, even if he doesn't do like doing what he can do at his age right now, but the role he can have at this age. I
Hmm.
still being comedy movies, you like missing the old Jackie where you have to laugh. But the
Yeah.
movie is really good. Really.
Okay. Cool. I'm gonna get round to checking that out at some point. I will. I just keep saying I'm gonna do it, and then I don't, and then as I said, I just keep getting lost along the way when I try and settle down to watch it. But I'm definitely gonna do it. But moving on, I mean, talking about the sort of police story and kind of how that inspired Agent Zero Zero. Tell us a little bit about Agent Zero Zero, because as I said at the top of the show, I've just finished reading the first volume and I loved it. I mean, it had like so many different types of styles, all blended together to make what was a really sort of wholesome story and an interesting story and an exciting story as well. So where did kind of, the ideas come from for that story apart from Police Story, I guess?
I don't know. People always ask me where the ideas come from. I actually have no idea. Like I'm sitting down, an
Hmm.
idea comes into my mind. It starts bothering me. I have work to do. I try not to think about that idea that comes into my mind. Then it bothers me. I can't do anything else but start writing, and then I start writing the story. And yeah, I'm like I said, I'm writing the first draft, and then make no changes. So I wrote it first time, it's going to be published like this. I let no one change anything. That's exactly how I did it. You have to publish it like this, making no changes. And I always like I said, admiring this kind of stories. And I always wanted to have my own story like that, but an original story and in my style. Because the first novel I published was a martial arts story, but it was more like action and drama and having that philosophy of martial arts, a master who teaches his students and kids a way of life and a way of thinking and stuff, but it had no fighting in it, like really stunts in a book,
Hmm.
and that was the idea that came up later. And because Agent Zero Zero, the first volume, is my fifth book, and when I started writing it, I really got that impression of, oh, this is going to be an awesome story. It's going to be my favorite. And when I was writing it, I said, no, it's not going to be one novel. I'm doing a series. It's going to be like a action, a police action story with more volumes. And
Hmm.
I was really excited to write it, and it's still my favorite. And I'm
Hmm.
having a lot of fun to like while writing it. I'm laughing myself when I'm writing it, and then there's something funny. I'm laughing, and if I'm
Hmm.
laughing, and then the first person who's reading is my mom, and sometimes I spy on her when she's reading the printed papers, and then I see her smiling or even laughing or stuff. Then I say, okay, that's good. She's laughing because she's really critic. But if it's not good, she's really telling me it
Hmm.
doesn't really happen because she's happy with what I'm doing. But if that's not something not okay, she's really ready to cut everything. Like you're not going to publish it. But
Hmm.
usually when I see her smile or laughing, that makes me happy. Okay, the story is good. We can publish it. Yeah. So when I started writing it, I an idea of having two agents having missions or three agents actually, and I wanted a boss that has some agents who are going for missions. That was my idea. But
Hmm.
I wanted this, because the story has always these two worlds, the past
Hmm.
and the
Hmm.
future, like the Dragon Dynasty and Hong Kong, 2000 years later.
Hmm.
So I had the idea of always writing the past and then the present, like in every series, to be the parallel worlds, that the characters who maybe will know or will not know that there are two worlds that happen in the same time, and what happens in one world could have action in the future too. Yes,
Hmm.
so yeah, it's a story of four agents led by their boss. And during the Dragon Dynasty, um, not talking about the first volume, the one that is translated in English too.
Hmm.
Yeah, like the curse falls over the princess, so the emperor has to send her away in order to protect the dynasty, so that the curse could not fall over Feian, over the princess, or
Hmm.
over everybody. And yeah, how they meet in the past, like the general with the princess and with Ju and Lulu, who's stealing the coins from Ju.
Hmm.
And then the same things happens in Hong Kong, like 2000 years later. There are two agents. But when the story in Hong Kong starts, you start seeing, oh, this Agent Eddie seems to be the general from the past. You see the actions they do and the way they behave. Even if you don't not watching the movie, because if it's a movie, you really see the faces, but in a book, you can't see the faces, and I'm not really describing the faces because I'm not really describing characters at all. But you can shape their way of being, like while they're doing certain actions and how they move and how they talk. You can know how they are even without my description. So then you can see, oh, then Jew from the past is Leo in 2015, and then that's the funny thing, that because you thought you lost them, like you lost the princess and everything in the past, and then starts a new story in the future. But you see that you actually meet them again in Hong Kong 2,000 years later, and they have no idea that they have another life, and they met, like they're meeting the same again and years later. So they're meeting kind of in the same way. And yeah, like in the first volume, they have a mission, because in every series, they are going to have a mission, a different person they are looking for, or criminal or whatever. And there's always a dramatic background, because the story is actually action comedy, the martial arts action comedy, fantasy, but it has also drama, because the background is dramatic, like the princess, the curse, the emperor who has to send the princess away. It's a sad story. And even in the future, when the boss has to take his mission, who happened to be 20 years ago, and he has to send his agents in the same mission. He lost his team 20 years ago. That's a dramatic story. It's a dramatic background, actually. So it's not always comedy. It's sad to see how even Lily is the daughter of one of the agents who died 20 years ago. So she is not really stealing their money to be part of them because she wants to steal the money, but she looked for a way to get closer to the agents who were closer to the boss, who had involvement in that mission 20 years ago, because she wanted to find who killed her parents. So everyone has his own dramatic background. Even in the second volume, Leo has a dramatic background later. In the third one, Eddie finds out who his lost brother was and who's doing other crimes. So during the story, there's always happening some dramatic background, but you're not really feeling that drama because it's covered by comedy. Mostly Leo, who, like most of my readers say they liked Eddie the most, because he's the more cool type of loyal agent who protects, everyone. It's like an agent everyone wanted to imagine. Like girls want to see such a cool agent, and guys want to be such an agent. So they like Eddie. But Leo is doing most of the comedy, because you're laughing because of him or together with him. So he's one of the favorite. Leo's a favorite for my readers. And yeah, so I'm trying to cover that dramatic with comedy. Even the fight scenes, to not look that bloody or dramatic, I cover them with maybe flashbacks from the past in a funny way. When Eddie is fighting some villains and he's hitting that guy's head on the ground, that's a bloody image when you're thinking of it, but it somehow vanished with the flashback from the past. Like Leo sees him doing that, and then he imagines, wait, I saw that somewhere. Did I live that thing somewhere? That happened somewhere. I can remember someone dressed in some clothing, like my boss looks like an emperor. Where was that? So that's a comedy. Like you're not really paying attention to the dramatic stuff that is happening at the moment, because you're thinking of the comedy like Leo is doing. So that's covered somehow, because like Jackie also said, I want children to watch my movies. So which we did. We all watched his movies when we were kids, and we didn't really see a lot of, even in the fighting, you didn't take that fighting like something bad, I'm going on the street and I'm beating this guy up. It has some fighting style that is not so drastic, not so violent. You're not going to get violent by watching that. And that's what I want to do with my novels too. Like even if younger people are reading it, they're not getting any violent ideas after reading that, but just good things at the end. And no swearing or bad words, even if they're here and there's maybe some word like you idiot or something, but not really words that, people are going, like kids going out and then using those words. It's not what I want to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, like one of the things that I really loved about the volume one that I read was the way in which you just described, or the way in which the past and the present kind of weave together with these different characters, and how the actions of the past kind of echo on sort of into the future and into the actions of the characters like Eddie and guys like that, who are trying to do their mission in the future. And I just thought it was, really clever to kind of marry those two things together. So that was really one of the things that I enjoyed, so much about it. Was that something that you got from sort of a science fiction background, or was it something that you just always kind of wanted to do with the story? You always wanted to have sort of the past and the present, together in one story, so to speak?
Yeah, I can say that I'm a really big fan of fantasy stories, fantasy movies, but this idea of like dying and being born again, as this kind of mythological or religion, or how you want to call it, is fascinating. And I thought of the idea, what if this is not the only world we are living in, and what if our past and the future are worlds that happen in the same time, and what if somehow doing something these worlds could connect, and then you could realize, as a character, you can realize that you lived that thing again with the same people but in other times, and even like the curse is going to the future, going back to the past, and even that is a curse, actually, that is a kind of destiny that is bringing them together. Like you were together in the past, you're meant to be together in the future too. So that curse in the next volume, and even in the third volume, is something that helps the agents like get back to life if they die, or it helps them actually, and they find out that there is some sort of connections with the past. And that was what was fascinating for me, like this, having more lives, like being born again, and maybe you couldn't finish something in your past life, like in the third volume. I'm not going to give any spoilers, but
No,
like
don't.
the like the Eddie's brother, who's the one of the characters, let's say, in the third volume, and they meet again, and yeah, that character died in the past, and he said, like, if we couldn't play as kids when we were kids, I promise you, I'm looking for you in some day or whatever. I'm looking for you, and you're going to play with me as we didn't play as kids. So he had some drama from the past. He couldn't get over the fact that he was separated from his family and didn't live with them together. And what he wished was to play with his brother. So when he grew up, he still had that mind of a kid, like, play with me, but he was doing crimes, like, play with me, and that's how he searched for Eddie in the third volume, like really making him going to missions, like killing people, or I'm going to kill this person and you're going to help this person. Don't let me kill him. Like, let's play like a crazy person, and making him like play such crime games. And it was something from the past, connected with the past, because he told the emperor, like, he told Eddie from the past, Lai, that if we don't play, if we didn't play in this life, I'm going to look for you in my next life. And this is what he did. Like in Hong Kong later, he really searched for his brother and like forced him to do some things like playing, and that was connections between a soul that couldn't live the life he wanted to live in the past, and he's looking for his brother, even if he's like the same crazy soul, going crazy and doing crimes and stuff. But his intentions in his mind was something he couldn't do in his past life. He wants to do it in the future, but causing like things that the agents had to solve and to get him and make him stop because he was doing crimes. But yeah, so I like this kind of connecting souls, characters, worlds, and people like this, even though I'm not a huge fan of fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, it was, as said, like one of the things that really kind of stood out for me reading the book was that kind of echo, the way that events kind of echoed through time, and I love also the way that the characters are connected on that, you know, soulful level. As you said, it's almost as if, you know, the choices that they make and the feelings that they experience can transcend the time differences and time periods, and can be experienced, you know, right the way through, from the past right the way to the present and the future. And that to me was really what I found quite unique as well about your books, because the you know, a lot of sort of martial arts thrillers that I've read are very kind of focused on the martial arts itself, in the terms of that they you know, are very much about describing the discipline behind karate, or
Right. Science.
you know, the detail behind the system, the different fighting systems in kung fu, or you know, basically they're all about that, and detailing that as much as possible, and in a sense that it becomes a part of the story. But with your story, it's as much about, as you said, the kind of the characters and the key themes that you're trying to get across as it is about the action that's in the story, you know. And yeah, that made like for a really exciting experience. So yeah, so awesome book. So definitely listeners, go and check that out. What I also wanted to ask you, Ramona, is a little bit about your other project, which is called Kung Fu Bodyguard.
Right.
So could you just tell us a little bit about that, and what the story is behind that, and what your plans are for it as well?
Well, compared to Agent 00, which is like more comedy, Kung Fu Bodyguard is more like a crime action story.
Hmm.
Now, talking about my style, readers have told me they have the impression of watching a movie while reading the book, and that is something I didn't plan to do. I realized I was doing that even from the first books I wrote. So I did something like what the director is doing when he's directing a movie is something I'm doing on paper. I could say that. So it's like a style of, if you can call it that, a movie in a book. Like we met you seeing the images and hearing sounds and even doing the fight scenes, if we can call them fight scenes in a book. You're really seeing that image, like of getting punched and the comedy behind, or even not going back to Agent 00, when there's Figaro's wedding, the music in the background, and they're fighting during that music. You can, if you know that music, you can hear the music and still hear the people punch each other. You know, it's a combination of comedy, which you, when you're seeing it on screen, you have it all there. But when you're writing that in a book, you have to somehow write your sentences that it's easy for the reader to hear, see, and imagine everything really real, to have that action really real. And what I did for a Kung Fu Bodyguard, I thought of preparing a movie project, but still having a novel, because it's easiest for me to write the novel first. I don't know, for many people, it's the script is easier to write. I never wrote a script. I had no idea about scripts. I was just doing my story. So I was doing the novel. But anyway, in my novel, there's not much description. Like don't have 5-10 pages of describing a chair, which is for me personally boring. I don't like books that have a lot of description. I'm really skipping that. So I really did skip that part and then let my books just what is important. You know, you want to see the story, not describing things. I don't care how that chair looks like. He's sitting down on that chair and what happens. That's important. So the story is from the beginning just action mostly. Even in Kung Fu Bodyguard, it's just what's important. And if you would need to cut out and make a script after it, it would be really easy, because it's almost like made like a script already. You just have all the important parts you would do for the movie, you know. But still, printing it as a book, because I published it as a novel, people are reading the novel, not a script, because a script is not something you want to read for fun. So, and I also try to keep it low budget in case I really want to do this crazy thing of preparing a movie project. I don't have a lot of money, and even the people I have connections with, we need to raise some money, but we can't like really think we're going to raise millions, because that's some high expectations that probably not going to happen. So I try to keep the low budget as possible, not having lots of people in the story, and keep it like really cheap, you know, but entertaining. So it's a crime story. The main character is Sophie. Her parents die at the beginning of the story. They are shot by the uncle, who is Sophie's uncle, who is the uncle, I mean, the brother of her father. And right after the funerals, this uncle, together with the leader and his subordinates, gives Sophie a paper of making her sign a paper of giving up on the rights. They give us all the rights your father had because we are taking care of the company. So she started getting the impression, okay, I think my uncle killed my parents for the money, which is what happened. So she runs away from home. The uncle sends his men to look for her, to get her and get her back and make her sign. So she was even afraid, not just signing, but seeing how far her uncle got, like even killing her parents. She was afraid she's going to be killed too after she's signing. So she runs away. The uncle's team is looking for her, and on that time she's she's bumping into Bo, who's a simple guy, a poor guy who's just working on the street with his cookies. He has like no problem with anything with crimes or everything that's going on around him. But he gets in the middle of the fight while they're trying to get Sophie, and he helps her without wanting to help, but he's getting into the fight because he's a good martial artist. He actually has no money, so he's sleeping and he's training in his own gym. And during the day he's working at the restaurant, so he said he has a simple life. But seeing that he's a good martial artist and he even helped her, Sophie's looking for him at the gym and asks for his help because she sees that she has no chance, not even at the police station and nowhere, because her family was really everywhere. She had, like, her uncle had people everywhere who would bring her home and not help her. So she had no one on the law part for her. So she was really looking for a stranger who would like fight for her and help her somehow, let everyone know what her uncle did. But Bo doesn't want to get involved, just tell her he doesn't want any involvement in crimes and stuff and to leave him alone. But still lets her sleep overnight at his gym. So later she goes at the restaurant where he's eating, because he was grown up by a cook who found him on street when he was 10 years old. So he had no memory from the age of 10. He had no idea who his family was, who he is. All he knew was he knew martial arts, and yeah, he was raised up in that restaurant and helping that cook, that older cook. He had also two friends who were also poor, so they were just helping out at the restaurant to have food and some money. And yeah, well, then the uncle and his men chase Sophie and find out she was at the restaurant, so they kill the cook. And that's the moment when, even if Bo always told Sophie, I'm not your bodyguard, I can't help you, leave me alone. But the moment they kill his cook, and it was the only person he had, his only family, and that's the moment when he says to Sophie, I'm not doing it for you, but I'm doing it for myself, for getting revenge. So he's actually helping her find a way to expose her uncle. And on the way, like the two friends of Bo join too. They are also good martial artists. They're also the people who are doing the action during the story. And they meet two agents also investigate the case in the same time. So they find evidence about the uncle. And yeah, but to the end of the story, Bo finds out during the fight with that leader and having flashbacks from the past. He starts remembering who he is and who his parents were, and he finds out that his father actually was a bodyguard and was exactly Sophie's parents' bodyguard. So his father was a real bodyguard, and they grew up in the same place where Sophie was born too. So they actually had a connection already with each other, but didn't know. So that's the title, Kung Fu Bodyguard, because he was saying, I'm not a bodyguard, I can help you. But then he finds out his father was a real bodyguard. And actually, during the story, he turns out to be a bodyguard too, because he's helping Sophie like a bodyguard. So, yeah, that the story gets more and more personal for Bo, who not just that the cook was killed, but even he finds out that even the leader killed even his own parents when he remembers who he is. So that's more like crime, the dramatic part of the story. But it has some action, some great action actually, some really cool action scenes. I'm always
Mm.
calling them action scenes in books, which is a little bit funny maybe because it's a
Mm.
book and not action scenes are in movies. But I know, maybe yeah, you can imagine the action scenes while reading the books, and even see the stunts, and that's a thing. So
Mm.
I really
Mm. Mm.
prepared that, like looking at it as a movie.
No, that definitely. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, when you get a good book like that, a good action book, usually what I find is I'm able to kind of visualize in my head as I'm reading, what I'm seeing on the pages. So my brain is almost kind of painting the picture in my head of what it would look like as a movie, say, or as a movie scene, and how everything would play out. And that's one of the kind of real strengths of Agent 00 that I read, was I was able to visualize everything and
Yes.
see it. And it sounds like with Kung Fu Bodyguard as well, you've really kind of gone for creating scenes that people can visualize themselves. And I'm with you also. I don't like sort of overly descriptive scenes, when it comes to background information and things like that. I think unless it's not necessary to the story, then you don't really care. You more
Right.
care about the people themselves and the characters and what they're thinking and why they're kind of doing what they're doing in the story.
Exactly.
So yeah, I'm with you. I can't stand books where you pick it up and they go into great detail about what the table looks like and how many chips it has on it and things like
No
that.
one cares, like really
Yeah.
no one.
No, nobody
Part
cares,
of the
about
story.
it
If
anymore.
it's part of the story, and if it's important that there are chips on the table because
Mm,
someone is going to hit someone with that chips, then it's
mm.
an important detail. But if they don't eat them, they don't have them on the table, it's really not important.
Yeah, no, it's an absolute waste of time.
Yeah.
So in terms of Kung Fu Bodyguard, the movie script, because I know you said you've kind of set out to write this as a book with a view to turning it as a script. Ideally, are you looking at something quite low budget that you would be able to put out, say, online on the internet, or were you looking at something that maybe you could even go through to a movie theater with?
Right. Well, I wrote the book last year, the novel, and I wrote it maybe in 1 month or something because it was during the time I went to London too, so I stopped writing and finished writing it. And yeah, I had this idea of a movie project. So what I had to do first was translating it to English, which is somehow the most thing that's the most complicated thing for me because I'm not a native English speaker, and I tried my best translating Agent 00 and asked some people like read here and there, how does it sound for you? I know that in Agent 00 some mistakes too. I saw them too, but I need to check them before making it into an ebook. But yeah, Agent 00 was really my first novel to be translated into English and was a huge project for me. And even when I'm writing in Romanian, I know exactly how I'm doing the comedy when you're reading the sentences. And the way I write them, it makes you laugh. Like, there's going a long sentence and the second one is short, and that one makes you laugh. But in English, when you translate it to English, so even in Romanian, my style is somehow mixed because I grew up in Germany. So my first language was Romanian at home, but I spoke German at school, at kindergarten, outside. So I grew up speaking two languages. So even my Romanian is now, in Romanian, there's short sentences, but in German, there are really long sentences. And I'm writing in Romanian with long sentences. So for people, it's somehow funny to see like the German writing in Romanian. But translating to English was a challenge for me. But I did all I could. And after translating one book, Kung Fu Bodyguard was already easier for me to translate it because I started getting, I know I can do this. And I translated it. And right after making the English version of the novel, Kung Fu Bodyguard, I really took the text and copied it into another file and starting to cut all the description that I said a script doesn't need. Like
Mm,
someone says something doing that, if that's important, like cutting even more of the description. Didn't have much description, but cutting a little bit of it and editing the text, like, how a script has to look like a characters who's saying what. And,
mm.
if it's outside, inside, I made that editing for the script, and the script was ready in maybe a week or something. I think that was really easy to do because I
Wow.
was afraid of writing of doing this script because no one did teach me ever to do a script or how it should be. And for novels, I'm really sure what I'm doing. But as for the movie industry, there's so many things I still need to learn. And as I didn't go to any film school or something, I just looked around. I took the script actually from Rush Hour, and I found it online. Rush Hour 1, it was, I think. I
Mm.
scrolled through the script like Carter Lee, Carter Lee. I said, okay, that's a script. So the script has to look like this. Okay, and I did the Kung Fu Bodyguard. That was my lesson, my script teaching. Like I teach myself, okay, that's how the script looks like. I'm doing the script now, and I think it turned out really good. I showed it to some people in the industry, and they said it looks good. Like,
Mm.
and not there is no like a perfect script, a good script or not, as long as the story is good, because the story is most important in a movie. And if the story is in any way good and the script, you can read it and understand everything that's going on, and all the people who are reading it and work on it understand every move and everything that's going on there, and it's clearly written, there's then it's good. Like, you don't need a perfect script or whatever, as long as you can work with it. Yes,
Mm.
I kept that script since last year, and was really thinking what I'm going to do with it and what people I should work with. And uh, for a year, I've been like really contacting people and making connections because I saw that that's important, like making connections, because you can go to a
Mm.
film school and even that's not going to help you out. It's whatever you're talented or not. Because they're like, taking for example, stuntmen. Some did have like special training, and some just watched movies and started to do stunts and stuff, and they are like working with our most important people in the action industry, and they teach themselves how to do it. So that was for me the same thing with the writing too, because it's a thing. I think it's whether you're born with a talent or not. That's maybe a cruel thing, but not
Mm.
everyone
Mm.
is writing novels. That's for sure. It's your something you're born with, but you never. Even when my mom saw in me when I was a kid, oh, she's good at telling stories, because when I was 2 years old, I was like telling stories that never happened on TV or in cartoons. So I had imagination, but you never know when a kid grows up how good she will be. Like, you can't tell it. You just need to see it. And I didn't know myself how good I am or how far I can get. You like, you don't know your limitation. You have no limits, and you always will learn more things and discover more things about you while doing it. So I just kept doing and learning myself things. And yeah, so without a school or learning how to do a script or the planning, and even 3 4 years ago, like I said, it took me 3 years to make anyone write in a newspaper about me. And starting from that point, I got more and more connections even inside here the country, TV stations, radio stations, people from magazines, even the German newspaper, and more people who finally started to notice me and say, oh, she's great, we want to do an interview with her or call her on a TV show. And that's what, when I started like having being on shows and having interviews written about me, like me in the newspapers. But I still had no connections. I was looking for the connections in the industry. I started from zero and I'm having no connections. Then I started having the mass media around and getting that kind of attention. And it's hard when you really know no one. I had like no connections. And during the years, it's amazing how small the world starts to be, because you're meeting more and more people. And
Mm.
even in the end, I speak to people who I watched in movies when I was a kid, and wow, I admired this person in a certain movie
Mm.
10 years ago, and now he's speaking to me, and he's like really, really happy to have a conversation with me, and even telling me, I'm proud of you that you like watched my movies and what turned out like during the years, what you could do with your talent just by admiring me. That's amazing. And that's cool when you grow up watching movies and it seems like impossible to reach those people and even reach and get into that industry, because that's a like, even when I was a kid and in school, in high school, my classmates asked me, but you want to be in this industry, okay, in the action movie industry. Do you have any connections? I said, no. You know, no person, not even one person in the industry, no. And how are you going to get there? It was always what they asked me. Are you crazy? Like, you're in the middle of nowhere and they are in the other part of the other side of the world. Like,
Hmm.
like it's impossible, almost impossible. And yeah, I said, I have no idea what I'm going to do this. And it was actually, well, like, trying to get into the industry. And the thing is, I wanted to learn how to produce a movie. That was my first like dream of being on set and learning. But I
Hmm.
had to do
Hmm.
it somehow to reach that set. So I started writing the novels. Then I discovered that I'm good at writing novels and it's fun and that's what I'm going to be. And I saw I'm a novelist actually. So that movies made the movies the books made my career. And I started
Hmm.
being the novelist and more books because I have 11 novels till today. And yeah, then exactly the books opened my doors for the movie industry. And like, facing a lot of problems, like I always said, if 100, like if 99 doors close in front of me, I'm going to find the 100th window and I'm getting in. And I'm doing this. And
Hmm.
that's what I was doing all these years. So yeah, building connections, that was important. Because I like people, if they don't know you, you're saying, "Oh, I have this story. I want to do a movie." Like that's crazy. Like no one, that's real. No one's going to pay attention to what you're doing. But if during the years you really prove yourself to be good at what you're doing, and important is to not give up. Like for years, showing you really want to do this, then it's amazing that people you admired or really have a chat with you and say that's great what you're doing, and that makes you feel happy because you don't want to everyone to agree with you or the whole world to like you. At the beginning it's important for you that the person you admire
Hmm.
admire you, that's the best thing that can happen. If you admire someone and that person says it's great what you do, that makes you happy and makes you keep going and making the career you wanted to have. So yeah, so during this time I searched for connections and when looking around myself, what's how other people do it. And I even saw that at the movie, I was in London last year. They did fundraise on Indiegogo.
Hmm.
That was the first time I heard about this crowdfunding, but didn't know how exactly it works. And I saw their website. I saw the posting on Instagram like months ago, but I didn't really pay attention to it, if it's crowdfunding or what they're doing. But when I really paid attention to it, it sounded interesting to me. Like really, if you have no producer you who would give you the money or who would invest in it or show it to someone, then you need a way to raise that money. That was an interesting thing for me, but still I had like no details about. I didn't even have the script that time. I had like no idea what to do, how many people I need and how much it's going to cost. It was things I couldn't like really see in my mind. This is that, and for what we need money or what exactly we need on set. But as having the experience of being on set, it really gave me the feeling of it won't be easy, but it can be possible. It can be made, and that was important for me when I realized it can be made. I don't know really how, but it can be made. So
Hmm.
I was for a few months since last spring, I was thinking and thinking about it. And then slowly, during even that time, some people got in touch with me, like stuntmen and other action people, uh, who all have the same like dream like me of being in action movies and producing such movies. And then I started having ideas like, wait a minute, there are so many stuntmen that are just doing over and over again stunts, but they could actually act too. But that's hard in like in big productions. They already have that big actor who's going to bring them success, so they don't try to make a movie with a guy or someone who no one knows.
Hmm.
That they don't take this risk, which is sad because you could have a really good actor who never had a role but is a really good actor and really good action actor, which is important. And you can have someone who really takes the risks of doing his own stunts and acting in the same time and like having the lead role. But that's really hard to get in passing such auditions because there are so many stuntmen out there, and it's hard to get to like being a stuntman and then starting being an actor as well. So like meeting people around, I started looking and I thought that maybe that's possible to do like a movie with stuntmen. having the roles, you know. And even looking at Bo or looking at David, Mark, you know, the characters, they
Mhm.
don't have a lot of acting to do. Like they don't have a lot of lines to say, a lot of acting. It's just simple. It's really simple to act. You do just need to do the stunts, the action. So I found some people who are the same and have the same enthusiasm like me, and they really are like thinking, yeah, we can do this. And that was important for me because I was surrounded by so many people telling me I can do this. And I heard that so many times, even before starting writing novels. I heard people telling me, you won't do this, you can't do this, and I did it. So I heard many times people telling me, you can do this. I'm now hearing someone said, you're not going to make it, it means I'm going to make it. That was almost like this. So people
Mhm.
telling me again, you're not going to make it. So this is a good thing for me because I know I'm going somewhere, somehow I'm going to make this. So yeah, I have at the moment a team, and we have the fundraising campaign already prepared. So everything is written down. We have everything on paper. There are still some things we need to clear about paperwork and other like insurance and stuff, because you know you're bringing people who are going to jump around and you don't know what's going to happen, like someone
Mhm.
breaks his leg or something. You know, you have to take care of things like this. But it's great that I have some guys that are really enthusiastic about this, and they really want to make this, and they have passion for it. And it's not just about the money making and how much you're going to have at the end. Of course you're happy if you can make money out of it, of course, but it shouldn't be the first thing you're asking for, like how much I'm going to make with this movie. It's really, we want to have the full feature film, not a short film. I really wish to have the full length movie and to be able to put it on a DVD and really show people. That is what I dream to do, and it's starting to look more and more real. Everything is prepared. I think this April we're going to put the campaign online and share
Mhm.
the trailer who we are and what we're going to fundraise for. So we're doing this Indiegogo campaign to try to fundraise at least the budget we need to bring everything to get everyone together and do this movie. So it sounds really great. I'm really excited about it, and we're going to make it.
Yeah.
Just because people told me I'm not going to make it, I'm going to make it.
For sure. No, I mean, it sounds like you've got a real plan ahead of you there. And, you know, we live in such an age now where it's not so difficult anymore for people to, you know, kind of pursue their dreams with film and you know with writing and all of these things, because technology has brought down so many barriers that used to be
Yeah,
up there before. So it's, you know, all you kind of really need is some enthusiasm and some people to work with and an idea. And
right.
you know, as long as you have those things in your, you know, in your basket, then you're really ready to go. So yeah, no, I mean, it sounds like you've got some fantastic ideas there. So we'll definitely keep touch with you there and make sure that we get an update on how that's developing. Now, we've just got one or two quick questions for you
Yeah.
before we wrap it up. I did manage to get a question from my co-host, the Rustin Kid, Rich Kid. He just wanted to ask if you had ever read a book called Kung Fu High School by a novelist called Ryan Gattis. I don't know if you've ever heard of that before.
No, I don't think so. But
Oh,
I'm,
okay.
I'm going to look for it.
Mm.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's a book I actually haven't read myself, to be
Okay.
honest. But he loves it. He's read it before, and he says it's awesome. And I mean, the title of the book kind of tells you exactly what it's about, almost.
Yeah,
Um,
actually, I didn't have much time to read novels, to be
mm.
honest. You know, when you're all the time just working with text and writing and writing, you really want to do maybe some training, some martial arts or anything, or just watch a movie, but be away from the screen and the writing, you know. So I didn't really have much time of reading books lately.
Mm. No, that's fair enough. That's fair enough.
And I have to keep up with the training because I gave up. Like I was taekwondo based. When I was a
Hmm.
kid, I was training a lot and I was good at it and really happy doing it. And during the school time, I had no time for it. And when I started writing, there was some years when I almost gave up training for it. So now I'm getting back in shape because I need it and I want to get back in shape. So I've started letting the books by side a little bit and mix this training and writing.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, my last question was going to be what what martial arts, if any, have you done yourself
Okay,
over time?
taekwondo.
But so Taekwondo is your
Yeah, right. But
Okay.
I want to learn kung fu actually,
Hmm.
wushu or some stuff. It looks really great on screen, almost
It
better than
does,
film.
yeah.
Looks awesome.
Yeah, it does. Wushu is it looks beautiful when it's
Yeah. It's
when
like a
it
dance. It's yeah.
yeah,
Now
yeah,
it's really fascinating.
yeah.
Taekwondo is interesting, but footwork, the
Mm,
high kicking and stuff is really cool in movies that
mm,
they can
mm,
combine it. But wushu is some other, even in fantasy movies and stuff, it looks stylish. It looks cool, like dancing, right?
mm, mm. Awesome, awesome. Well, Ramona, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. It's been awesome to talk to you and to hear a little bit about your journey and how you've traveled from a precocious 14-year-old all the way up to here and what you've done. Before you go, could you tell people where they can find your books if they want to buy any, and where they can find you on social media as well?
Well, Kung Fu Bodyguard is available on Amazon, just as an ebook, so the
Hmm.
English version. As for the Romanian readers, if there are any listening right now, my books can be or on my Facebook page. They can order them right there, or just
Hmm.
contact me on Facebook and they can get in touch with me. And I'm sending the books out. Yeah, and rest they can find me on Instagram on the same name, Facebook Lee Sojourn. Yeah, so there's the rest of the information is everything is on Facebook and on Instagram. But yeah, the only ebook is right now Kung Fu Bodyguard on Amazon, and Agent Zero Zero is going to be available as an ebook soon too.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. All right, Ramona. Well, as said, thank you so much again for joining us. It's been a pleasure to talk to you, and we hope we can have you on again real soon.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Great.
All right, listeners. Well, that's it. We're going to wrap it up now. So I'm going to say goodbye. Thanks a lot for listening. And make sure you listen at the end of the recording as well. There'll be a short trailer there to let you know where you can find our other podcasts. So, yep, it's goodbye from me, and we'll see you again soon. Peace.